It's there! Holy moly, this one's going to go big.
Hello and welcome back to the channel. We need to talk more about the Astra machines, mostly about party time, but also about the evolution of them over time. That's why we've got Vegas nights on screen here, not party time. Now, the last video, the one about party time, a couple of things on that. It's proved to be very popular on the channel. It's attracted a lot of comments. It's got like 40 comments on the video. We've had a chat about it over at Desert Island Fruits. There's a thread over there. Even the folks over at Casino Meister have got involved with the conversation on this one. Normally, of course, that's far more of an online casino sort of place, but there are a few, Brits of a similar vintage to me over there. So sometimes you have a little bit of a chat about the fruit machine stuff, but party time seemed to sort of set a few synapses going in the memories of people over there as well. And on top of that, I've also had several people private message me about a couple of the same subjects. Now, some of this has come out to an extent on the forums, but more so in private messages. Somebody over at Casino Meister PM'd me. I've had 3 people private message me over at Desert Island Fruits about the same stuff. And in sort of one of those things that we're talking about is you probably don't want to put the full details of this on a public video because it can still be a thing in some of the ROM revisions that are running out in arcades now. So I'm going to talk about that thing, but not the specifics of it. Because believe it or not, it is something that you can still do in the emulator. You can get this thing to work in the emulator, and it's a little bit, you want to be aware of it. Even if you don't know how to do it, you probably want to be aware of it. So lots of things to talk about. What I'm going to do is just merge all of this together into a series of talking points. Unusually for me, I've even got a little notepad document off to the side here so that I make sure that I hit. It's just like a 1 or 2 word reminder, so I know that each of the things that I've got to hit here. But what I'm going to do is rather than flit around the different forums and the comments and all the rest of it, particularly, of course, the private messages, I can't do that. A couple of people have said they don't particularly want to be involved with the conversation per se, so I'm just going to talk over the kind of machines here, as it were, and go through those points one by one. But I really do think we need to have a follow-up on this, particularly because there are a couple of things that I got wrong in the first video as well. And since I'm sort of semi-presenting these videos as not an official historical record, but I've talked time and time again about how the fruit machine industry has basically done absolutely fuck all to preserve its own history. It's kind of fallen to us kind of amateur enthusiasts, as it were, be it with the emulation itself, of course, with forum posts, with my videos. Cheerful Pessimist channel, that does appear to have gone now, by the way, but Cheerful Pessimist was doing it on his channel and all that kind of thing. So let me move through them one by one because we've got a few things to cover here. First off is Jackpot. Party time started on a £10 jackpot, not £15, as I said in the previous video. True story, and you can call bullshit if you want on this, but I honestly had a little bit of a wrangle with myself on that one. Because in the back of my head, I was thinking, hang on, Degsy, didn't this start on a tenner? Didn't you see this on a tenner? Down in the Crescent Leisure Centre when it first turned up, I sort of had memories in my head of this being on a tenner. So I tried to find any evidence of it, and I just couldn't find any. It's never been emulated with £10 ROMs. I couldn't find any pictures of it running £10 ROMs. Flyers, none of them. Normally, flyers are really good for this because obviously the flyer that the company produces to advertise the machine will coincide with the launch of the machine. So whatever jackpot you can see on the flyer is what the machine launched with. I couldn't find an original flyer for party time. Nothing. Basically, I couldn't find any evidence that this thing existed on a £10 jackpot, but there's plenty of evidence of it being on a £15 jackpot. All I had was this slightly hazy memory from, 25, 26 years ago that I'd seen it on a tenner, But I just had to go with the weight of evidence and said, you know, this started on 15 quid. That was the point there, the correction there was made by many people. Say, hang on, Degsy, mate, this started on a tenner. And it seemed to be pretty late in the £10 days. Now, we do have some ROM information that was posted over at Desert Island Fruits. We've got it as a text file here. These are the notes from a ROM that was posted over at Desert Island Fruits. Can you see there? We've got a date on it, 1998. And this is not the original ROM. This is not, see there, the version 100 was the production ROM. We've gone to 1 revision, 2 revisions, 3 revisions, and then on the 4th revision. But can you see there, we are still on a £10 jackpot. So this did start on a £10 jackpot. Fairly late in the day, it was upgraded to £15 reasonably quickly, and there was a £15 version of it released as well. Someone made the comment that the jackpot symbols changed, that on the first ones they said jackpot 10, the actual symbols on the reels there said jackpot 10, and then on the £15 version they actually changed the symbols on the reels. So that was my mistake, sorry about that. Party Time was a £10 jackpot machine when it launched. My memory was kind of working correctly in that regard. That was my mistake. But certainly over at Desert Island Fruits, a couple of people said there that they remember this turning up. There was almost like a crossover where this was coming in on a £10 jackpot. Well, I'll say this, you got Vegas Nights on screen here, but Party Time was there on a £10 jackpot as other £10 machines in the arcade were getting their £15 upgrade kits. So it was almost like a transition sort of machine late in the day, but it was a tenner to start with. The other mistake that I made was on the weight behaviour. Again, I was corrected by several people on this, which is to say that on the original Party Times and the early machines, Top Slot was another, that they didn't have the weight. Now, what I talked about there was if 2 slaves wanted to go up to the top box simultaneously, the one that was sort of second in line would wait behind the other one, and it would say something on its display just to say busy or wait, whilst you waited for the top box to be freed up by the other slave. Now, that was something that was added in later. The reason that I've got Vegas Nights on screen here is that this does have that behaviour. Now, I'll show you that now. But those early Party Times and Top Slots, some of the others, they didn't do it. And if the top box was not available when your slave wanted to go up, it would just hold a win or something like that. And there was a feeling that you wouldn't get the same value if your slave couldn't go up to the top box, even though it could hold a win on the reels, its own reels, something like that. And that explains why people waited on those early ones. People would wait if they saw another slave go up to the top box and they were playing, they would stop playing on their machine because they knew that their machine couldn't go up to the top box whilst it was in use. Now, what I'll try and do here, this does do it, so let's put some money in. There we are. So I set the alarm off there. I was putting money in too fast, but it's recovered. So there we are. I'll splice that together. It just made a horrible noise and alarmed at me because I was putting money in too quick. There we go. This one will do it. What we've got to, the trick is, of course, that you've got to get 2 of them wanting to go up. Come on, you bastard. Right, let's kick it off. Right, now then. The good thing with Vegas Nights here is that it will completely play itself. You can see there, if I put them in autoplay, they will play themselves 100% without any kind of input from me. And they will... Oh, that... Come on, we need another one to go up to the top box. Can you see there? Player 1 has managed to go up to the top box. Now, what we need is another one of these to want to go up to... Right, we've got... Right, we need machine 2 there. Autoplay... Oh, fuck. Autoplay, it's a bit of an aggressive... It's not like George... This is like George's psychotic brother. You know how George just kind of collects everything and he doesn't... Oh, fuck me, slave 1's gone mental. You know how George just kind of collects everything and he's very, very... Look at that. Wow. Player one's done well, hasn't he? Yeah, these do not do that at all. Oh, bollocks. Is that just going to finish? Come on, gamble up, gamble up, gamble. We need player two. Oh, they will gamble all out for the top. Well, that's not going to work now because player one now has got to... Fuck me. Christ, look at that go. Look at player one there. I didn't know he was going to do that. I did lump a little bit of cash through it, but look at that. Now, that was a top. What? Now, that was a decent top. Now, this also feeds into, by the way, the other point, because I think most people are on the same page on this, but there's a couple of comments that suggest that some people do think that there is a shared pool for the top box, and that is not the case. We have had that confirmed 100%. I did kind of... Oh, fuck me, that's run out of money there. I did speculate this very much in the original video that each slave was essentially... It's an entirely self-contained machine, and you had to think of the top box in a way as it used that each of these machines would try and use the top box to play out their feature, and that was about the limit of it. And that is the case. There is no concept here of any kind of shared pot or shared value or anything like that. Now, I'm not talking about what may have happened in the future, what other manufacturers may have done with community games and all that sort of stuff. I am specifically talking about these Astras and the earlier ones as well. I don't know if this behaviour changed later on. Like I say, I've talked in the past, like low-techs are not really my thing, and you can probably see that because I've gone a little bit off piece by covering low-techs, and I made a couple of mistakes as it was in the original video, but I have had it confirmed to me by somebody who knows for sure that these are entirely self-contained machines. You can think of these as or however many slaves there are, you can think of them as independent fruit machines. They maintain their own RTP. They have their own compensation. They have their own kind of streak pots, everything like that. They are entirely self-contained, and they just use the top box to play out their feature. Think of the top box as a feature board that they will... But instead of each having their own little feature board, or actually get a normal fruit machine, they just use that top box as a shared feature board. Now these are not plain ball here, and we're going to have a trouble here getting to go up on player one, aren't we? Because that has just paid out quite a lot. However, since we're waiting for this to happen, this is probably a good opportunity to go into the next point, which is the compensation on these. Now, we can get a hint at that from this ROM revision here. Bear in mind that this is on a £10... Oh, bollocks, the slaves go over. They're well done, Degs. I've forgotten about this. This is a slight issue with the slaves here, that they always stay on top. There's probably a button I can press to fix that, isn't it? There we are. That's the thing. Can you see there on version 104 of the ROM, and I would again make that point, that this is a £10 jackpot ROM with version 104. They increased the float level to £300. So on a £10 jackpot, you could float these machines with 300 quid. Now, when this ROM was posted, look at that, player one's gone up again. Now, when these ROM notes were posted over at Desert Island Fruits, the point was made by a couple of people that is a crazy float for a £10 jackpot machine to have. And the conversation that we had there, and again, this is another thing that's been verified by multiple people, is that these things had really wacky compensators on them, going back to the original £10 party times. These had very, very slack compensators. Now, I'm sure we all know what compensation is in the fruit machine world, because even though compensated fruit machines, and this goes for low techs as well as high techs, you set them to a percentage, but 74, 76 if you're in the pub sometimes. Hopefully a bit more than that in the arcade. You'd hopefully be finding these on the mid-80s or 90% in the arcade, something like that. But they have a target percentage. However, unlike a random game, like roulette is a very good example of a random game that has a percentage with a house edge. Unlike a random game, a fruit machine, a compensated fruit machine, will actively seek out its target percentage. Now, a very good example of that would be, think about the original, the Barcrest Forcibles, the Arabian Nights, Red Hot Nights, Monty Python, Neptune's Treasure, all that lot on the £15 jackpot. I'm sure we all remember those, and they actually had pretty tight compensation on them. So we all know, for example, that if you got the 45 or the 60, if you force that out for 45 or 60 quid, then that it's not going to happen again for a while, because the compensator then will demand that the machine takes back an amount of money. So it's gone to its percentage, maybe in some cases even slightly over percentage, and it then needs to take some money back. That's the compensator kicking in and saying, okay, you need to take some money now. We've also seen the opposite with that, with Big Wheel. Money Talks was one as well that I covered recently, where we were able to show in the emulator that the compensator on those really didn't care how far behind those machines got from percentage. Now, that was something that JPM corrected, or changed rather, in later ROM revisions, where of course they did the spin in jackpot. On the JPMs that did the spin in jackpot, what's happening there is the compensator is essentially saying, right, you're actually drifting too far away from percentage now. You need to pay something back. And the most obvious example there is on those JPMs, that if they get that drift, it's just going to spin a jackpot in to try and pay something back to get back to that target. So we can have compensators that are a little bit looser than others or a little bit tighter than others. And that will, of course, instruct how much of a drift from percentage the machine will allow to happen. Let me just have a look here. We're not having much luck here with getting two of these bloody things go up at the same time, are we? Did I not kick that off? Right, okay. So, the thing with Party Time and these Astras in general, and certain these early ones, that there is a suggestion here that they've changed this with some of these, because these are still around now on £25 jackpot, newer cabinets and ROMs, but certainly on these earlier ones, Party Time, the original Party Time on £10 jackpot and on £15 jackpot, the compensator was allowing a drift of anything up to about £250 plus or minus from centre point, because there were loads of comments being left from people who said that they remembered taking some epic kickings on these, for a £10 jackpot machine or a £15 jackpot machine, taking some incredibly heavy losses. But also some stories from people saying, God, if you caught one of these things paying, they were absolutely bonkers. They could just pay and pay and pay. Well, the reason for that is this massive target area that the compensator has. Because if you think about it, let's go with that figure of 250 quid. And that there's a few people who have come up with numbers in that kind of ballpark. And the thing that really helps us there is, why on earth would you put a £300 float on a £10 jackpot machine? Think about it. In the high-tech era, £15 jackpot machines had £125 hoppers. A £125 hopper on a £15 jackpot machine was considered enough to account for all scenarios, and specifically, of course, the most that the machine was ever likely to pay out. So with you get a big street, 75 quid. Let's say you got 75 Is that going to go up? They are not behaving, these bloody things. Come on, can we get 2 of them going up at the same time here? No, it just... Oh, come on, just go up, one of you. We've got one up at the top here, come on. One of you, just go up while that's still on there. Okay, so he's out. Oh, it's not happening, is it? Now he's going to want credits, isn't it? Is it still going? Right, okay. Can we get this one here? Oh, we've got to... Come on, right. Go up, go up, come on. We want player 2 here. Oh, it just lost right there. Oh, God. I did a tester on this last night, and it didn't take that long to get them. I thought, oh, this would be dead easy to catch on camera. 2 of them going up at the same time. It seems to happen a lot. And now I started bloody filming the thing. They're not doing it. Right. Back to where I was. So on a £15 jackpot machine, £125 hopper was considered enough to cover all eventualities of the machine. Because if you don't want a machine running empty because it's going to IOU, someone's going to complain, they're going to turn the machine off, and a machine that's turned off isn't making any money. So that 125 hopper was considered enough for the machine to work with. Anything, of course, that goes in that's over that £125 hopper would be diverted down to the cash box rather, in the bottom of the machine. Now, we all remember the dropping. You would listen out for the coins dropping into the bottom of the machine. On a £15 jackpot machine, that would mean that the £125 hopper is full. Hang on a minute. Let's just... I am sorry, folks. This is not supposed to take this long to get 2 of these bloody things to want to go up at the same time. They are really, really misbehaving. So, that's gone up. Player 2's gone up. Okay, it doesn't matter. We'll let it roll out in the background. So, yeah. We've got a £300 hopper there on a £10 jackpot machine. And we've got compensators that effectively give, and this is on the £10 party time. We have got a jackpot there. We have got compensators that can allow a drift of 250 quid in either direction. So if you think about it... Oh, did that just... Did player 1 just miss there? Can't get it. So if you think about it, that gives the machine a target area of £500. 250 up and 250 down gives a spread of £500 for the compensator to work in. And this ties in comments left on the video, a conversation we've had over at Desert Island Fruits. There's a guy over at Desert Island Fruits who's done a lot of playing around with these in the emulator to try and work out what's going on with them. And what you can see is you could watch one of these. Vegas Nights applies on the same principle, but on the original party time, the £10 party time, you could watch. Let's just say that the machines are on absolutely level pegging. So you go into an arcade and the machine's set to 80% and it's on 80%. It's on exactly 80%. And you see someone lose £100 in slave number 1. So you think, right, it's taken 100 quid here, it's going to be due to pay something back. No, because the compensator will allow that machine to take that £100, take another £100, then take something like another 50 quid on top of that before the compensator will finally say, right, you do actually need to pay something out now. So that's why you could see huge amounts of money going into these things. That's going to go up again. That's why you could see a lot of money going into these machines. But they could just keep taking. Even after they've taken a load of money, they could carry on taking. And the same applies in the opposite direction as well. So if you see one of these that, oh, God, it nearly went up there. Can we just get... Come on, just win one gamble on Slave 2 there. Come on. Right, now it should say... Now you'll see it. Look at Slave 2. See there. Right. Fuck me. That. Oh. See there. So Slave 2 is now waiting for the top box to be free. And what it will do, as soon as player 3 busts out on the top box here, it's going to go in. So this is so you don't have to think about it. So certainly by this in the £25 era, Astra had changed the behaviour so you can just carry on playing your machine, and then as soon as the top box is free, you will then go up and get your top box. So we know what's going to happen here, but let's just watch it. Let's just watch it actually happen. Another £2 there. They've done some reasonable tops, these things, haven't they? And this ties into the other thing that I'm talking about now, which is the compensators and how they work on these. Because you could see, and this is the point I was just getting to, is so you can have it on the downside for the player. So here you go, player 2 is going to go up now. As soon as that top box is available, because they're all talking to each other, they've got a network in between them. Player 2 now goes up and he gets his top. So on the downside for the player, you could see £100 go into one of these with no reply or very little reply. But the machine is not necessarily ready to pay. You could take another £100 after that. You could take another £50 after that. The flip side of that is that you could see one of these do maybe, let's say on the £25 jackpot here, you could see a slave go up and do a £75 top. You might think, well, I'm going to steer clear of that one. Well, no. Because the compensator has got that big spread, it can allow a £75 and then maybe a tenner later, it might allow a £75 top or a £100 top. And that's still within the parameters that the compensator on this will allow for. So that feeds into something that many people mentioned was these really epic takes that they could seem to go on, but there are also these really, really rich pay periods that they could go on as well. And it is all down to that compensator, which has a very, very unusually large spread. And it was quite different. This is, again, the other point that's come up. These were deliberately designed to be different from other low-techs of the time. Other low-techs of the time were far more built around single streaks. So if a machine streaked, it would then need to take it back and either come round on the cycle, wait until the compensator's got enough to afford again, and it will streak again. However, Astra designed these to be different. They deliberately designed these to have different behaviour, to the extent that the way that they could pay, as long as the compensator was within its bounds, within those upper and lower bounds, that they were almost semi-random. That the way that these could play, if they were in that midpoint where the compensator was not going to absolutely force the machine to do something, you actually had a sort of semi-random chance of things happening. So that there is partly why, or that's the main reason why, Astra put such huge floats on these of £300, because the arcades of the time were getting, they weren't cross with the machines insofar as these things were making an absolute fortune. Again, we've had some chats from people who were around at the time who were told who were either in the business or knew people who ran arcades, that Party Time in particular, and we all know this already, was an absolute smash hit. Astra could not make these things fast enough. Apparently the 3-slave and top box installation was going for about £10,000 if you bought it new. But these things would just make that back in no time whatsoever. These were doing ridiculous cash boxes, so the arcades wanted them to be in operation for as long as possible. When they opened the doors in the morning, they wanted these things to be working right the way up to when they closed at night, with as little intervention from them as possible, so that the thing was working, because a machine that's turned off isn't working. And that was where that £300 hopper came from, to allow these machines to basically cope with that really bonkers compensator. Obviously, if it's taking loads of money, that's not a problem, because it's just going down into the cash box, but you want it to be able to pay out and pay out and pay out from the hopper without IOUing. So this change here basically made these lower maintenance for the arcades. So that's the key point there. And if you remember personally, like I say, a lot of people have said this, that they saw insane pays on these things, but they also saw insane takes, and sometimes they were on the wrong end of it. That is why. It's because these had an unusual compensation method with a semi-random style of play whilst the machines were within the bounds of the compensation. And on that point, this was one more that loads of people jumped in to say, you didn't talk about the nudge setups. Now, in the party time video, I talked about this whole thing with letting the nudges time out and all the rest of it. Well, there are setups that you can do where there are certain real setups where if you do the nudges in certain ways, when it does that kind of extra nudge thing, it will sometimes nudge in a win. And the question around that is, what does that represent in terms of where the machine is up to and whether it wants to pay out anyway? Now, the fact that these setups exist is definitely a thing. They are there and they do work. However, the answer to this is that they were actually a bug in the code. The machine is not paying stuff out that it doesn't want to. It's enumerating the nudges wrongly on the reels and then correcting itself when it nudges in the win. The compensator knows that it's paid them. They are accounted for in the RTP. They're not any kind of emptier or manipulator or anything like that. And they also existed on other Astra machines of the time. These were reported, and then it gets back to Astra that there's players doing funny things on their machines where they're getting loads of extra nudges and getting wins that it doesn't look like they should seem to be getting. This was all checked out, and apparently it turns out, yes, that it was a bug in the code. It was almost like a presentation error, but it wasn't an actual cheat. The guy over at Desert Island Fruits who was told this back in the day and has replicated it in the emulator said that for him it's a little bit like, you know, a let 'em spin after nudges in terms of trick category. And what he's done is kick these about around a load in the emulator. And what he's found is that even on fairly shortish cycles, like a single session in the emulator, either doing the tricks, because he knows all of the nudge setups. If you do the nudge setups or don't do the nudge setups, he's found that even over a mid-length session within the emulator, it doesn't actually change the payouts. Now, obviously, it can't hurt you to do these. Doing these setups isn't going to leave you any worse off. Some people do seem to be suggesting that they were a shortcut. If the machine had some value in it, these setups could be a shortcut to getting some of that value out. And in fairness, nobody was suggesting that they were an emptier or anything like that. But what it seems to be is that these were a bug that was left in. Astra were aware of it, but they decided not to fix it. These things were doing such incredible cash boxes, and the idea that players might be trying to find out little tricks on them actually quite appealed, because they were happy that the machines were working properly and that they were performing properly. The compensation was still working properly. The machine wasn't fundamentally doing anything that it didn't want to do, and they deliberately left the bug in with the setups. They could have changed it, but they didn't, because they were like, you know what, it doesn't make any difference, and if people think they've got a little trick here or they're trying to work more out, all the better, because it's bigger cash boxes for us. Now, I have had the setups explained to me. It's the way that you set up the reels and the way that it enumerates the wins, I think running from right to left, it was explained to me as. So yeah, by all means, if you know the setups, it's not going to hurt you. Maybe it's going to get you a little bit of value sooner rather than later, but it's ultimately not going to affect the RTP of the machine at all, because it does know what it's doing. And then we move into the slightly darker one, which is something that can be done in the emulator. Certainly on the Party Time Arena ROMs that we've got emulated, it can be done. And it's been said to me that there are still Party Times out there, maybe other Astras as well, but certainly Party Times that this works on. And basically what you can do, and you probably need to be aware of this because it's something that could hurt you if you're playing one of these, is that you can get a slave into a position where it will not go up to the top. Now, one of the guys that I've been messaging behind the scenes about this is, he said, I've worked this out before. I said, I'm having a little bit of trouble just replicating it again in the emulator. I've definitely had it working before. I'll sort it out and let you know. He thinks from memory, it's basically something to do with getting a slave to time out on the top box. So what you have to do is almost like play one credit at a time, get it to go up, you leave it on the top box, you don't put another credit in, and there's a particular state that you can get them in where you get a timeout state between the slave and the top box, or one of the other slaves tries to take over, because remember, on those earlier ones, you didn't have the busy behaviour that you do here. So you end up with a little bit of confusion between a couple of the slaves and the top box. And the end result is that you can leave one of the slaves in a condition where it will never try to go up to the top box. So what you basically have is that slave then will build up in its compensator value, because it isn't able to get rid of any of its value on the top box. It will just build it up and build it up and build it up, and that will persist until that slave is turned off and turned on again. The way this has been pitched to me is that you're probably going to need a little bit of collusion from within the arcade. You're going to have somebody on the inside, or somebody who will at the very least turn a blind eye to one of the slaves being turned off and turned back on again. But for however long the slave is left in that state where it will not go, it will not try to go up to the top box, the other two will carry on working normally, but the one that's been jiggered about with is just going to sit there building up value. You manage to get it turned off and back on again, and then that slave is going to be desperate to go up to the top box and dump all of that value, because it does remember the value and it knows it needs to get rid of it, and then by resetting the machine you effectively say, right, okay, I've got a top box again, off I go, and it'll dump however much overcompensation it's got to get rid of onto the top boxes. Now, I do not know exactly how to do this within the emulator. I've been told it works on the Party Time Arena ROMs that we've got emulated. Guy said to me, look, once I've sussed this out, I'll let you know. But even he said, you probably just want to kind of do it for yourself in the emulator, just to kind of, as a curiosity thing, because for my money, this is something that is still a thing out in some of the arcades, and there are still some ROMs out there that this works on. Now, where that leaves us, I guess, is if there's a top box, if there's a slave rather, that isn't going up to a top box that seems to be playing fishy, maybe it's something to do with this. Now, this is one of the ones that's been a little bit darker, I suppose, but it's also something that I have had multiple people tell me about. A couple of people have hinted at it publicly, but they've taken anything beyond that privately, and it's like, I wouldn't actually stick this in a video if I were you. So if anything, I'm just making you aware. Where this stopped working, at which point Astra chipped this one out, I don't know. What kind of machines it works on, how you can tell with a jackpot state combo or anything like that, I do not know the exact details of. But there is something fishy that can be done with these. And this thing, unlike the nudge setups, which was just like, whatever, we don't care that they're keeping to percentage anyway, this is something that was fixed, but there are apparently still some exploitable units out there, so that, I don't know, that's something that you might want to be aware of at least. Right, blimey, that's a lot of wibbling even for me. One final thing, which is just, two final things. One, which is actually let's just close those down. There we go. There we are. Now then, I was watching, just earlier in the week, I was watching Season 2 of Sherwood on the BBC. Season 1 was fantastic, and Season 2 has just been released in the last few weeks. So I watched that on the BBC iPlayer, and there was a scene where they're down in Skegness. So some of the characters are down in Skegness. They're kind of lying low for a bit, but they go out into the town, and I'm thinking, Skegness, that's a seaside town. Maybe they'll go in an arcade. And true enough, there is a shot in an arcade, and as soon as this came up, I nearly pissed my pants, because I was like, kind of like the point of the original video was how ubiquitous Party Time was and is. You know, this machine that came out in the late 90s and yet can still be found in arcades today in some form or another. There we are, a series that was filmed this year in 2024. And what have they got? Very, very clearly, off in the right of the shot there, we've got a Party Time. You can see there that we've got the 10p £5 version there. And if you look at the back, that's a bullion bars, isn't it? So we've got a Party Time very clearly in shot. And in the background, we've got a bullion bars. That just tickled me when I saw it. I thought, that's quite amusing. I kind of like proving the point that here we are in the year 2024, and if there's a scene in an arcade, and you've got all the bloody shitty stuffed toy crap and all that rubbish, but the fruit machines there, very clearly we've got a Party Time. And speaking of which, here we've got a video. Now this guy does leave comments on my videos fairly regularly. It's this guy who's got his own YouTube channel, Torbay Fruits and Jackpots, and he mentioned he left a comment on the last video and mentioned that in his most recent video he had one of these things doing £100 off the top, which I think I should be at just about the right point. And he was saying that you can learn. There's quite a few patterns on these. You can see these are a more modern installation. These are definitely, can you see there, the top reels have got different lighting going on. They're more modern cabinets. So even though these are running on the £25 jackpot, and what you can see, by the way, is that these are taking a credit for every one of these 25 quids. These things are taking a credit. But you can see the top box there, or the sort of artwork to the left and right of the main machine name, is look out for £100 from Streaks. I'm not quite sure how that works to like explicitly argue that, or advertise rather, that a £25 jackpot machine has a £100 streak. But Mr. Torbay Fruits there, as soon as he saw the first jackpot roll in, he was like, I don't know if this is going to be the streak or not, but the second he saw the second jackpot roll in, he knew it was then going to be the £100. So these things save for £100 top. Exactly how many different bloody versions of these things there are out there? Because you've got to remember, we have got 26 years since these things first came out. We've had all kinds of stake and jackpot revisions. We've had multiple ROM revisions, and we've had multiple iterations. So this Party Time here is not the same as the original Party Time cab. You can see here that this is running on newer hardware. This is probably a Pluto machine rather than Astra Sys 1. So there's going to be a lot of variety and a lot of variation in terms of what machines are out there. But thank you to Mr. Tor. I've subscribed to his channel. I've only watched a couple of the videos so far, but he does like, if you have a look down his channel, he does seem to like his low-techs, and there's all kind of loads and loads of bullion bars and Party Time videos on there. But I was just having a look at that one most recently where he got the £100 streak on the top. So thank you to Mr. Torbay Fruits there. Hope you don't mind. I've just slightly pinched a bit of your video there as well, just as I talk out here. And there we go. We'll just go back to the original Party Time there as I just do the closing comments here. But as you can see there, that is physically quite a different machine to the one that we were just looking at in the video there, even though they're both called Party Time. So do please bear in mind here that there's God knows how many different variations just of Party Time, let alone all of the other multiplayer machines that Astra have made over the years. Loads and loads and loads and loads of them. Just widened it out a little bit in this video because I did want to cover that change in behaviour on the weights. So Party Time here, this will not do the weight. Unfortunately, the autoplay is really, really bad on these, so they kind of stop for everything, so you've got to manually intervene. It's not like the other one where it'll just go hell for leather for getting on the top box. But in essence, with these, you won't get that weight behaviour. If party time player 3 there is already on the top box and one of the other ones wants to go up, it's not going to do anything. It might just hold a win for you or something like that. Like I say, that explains why people would wait if they saw somebody else go up to the top box. Beyond that, though, I think we've covered everything. Even I need to fucking shut up now because that's a lot of wibbling. But the big key points there. Let's just go down and one in quick succession. Jackpot. They started on a tenner. Each slave is its own machine. They're entirely self-contained with their own RTP and compensation and payouts and street pots. They just use the top box as a feature board, essentially. The weight behaviour I've already talked about. The nudge setups, yes, they are definitely a thing. The machine knows about them. Astra knew about them. They deliberately left them in. Maybe it gives you a little bit of a shortcut to some value. Do remember that crazy, crazy compensation, that huge spread on the compensators that would allow for some really, really unusual behaviour that Astra deliberately put in for very, very big pays, very, very big takes, and this semi-random behaviour whilst the compensator was somewhere in the middle. That dodgy cheating slave thing where you can leave one of these things where it will never try and go up to the top box until it's turned off and on again. Bit sus, that one. And finally, just the amusing little shot of it in Sherwood on the BBC. And I think we are done. So, thank you very much for watching. Do hope you've enjoyed this video, and I'll catch up with you next time. But for now it is, goodbye.